Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world. Just once again in time for the WADcast, episode number 71. It's the Writers, Actors, Directors podcast where we talk about all of those things, plus occasionally all those other jobs on a set that nobody ever loves enough. I am one of your hosts, Josh, joined as always by the guy that Brandon, what's up? Yeah, I completely agree. I do an amazing job bringing the show in. It's a gift, really.
There we go. I'm sorry, I muted myself somehow. I don't know how I did that.
Might have been when you said, "Okay, I'm going to mute myself."
Yeah, but I thought I unmuted it. No. Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. It's good to be back. No, we took last week off. Sorry, I've been doing all kinds of mandatory overtime at my night job. But yeah, and this week I'm dealing with the tail end of a cold. So
a hooker with a heart of gold.
Yeah. Let's just keep that between us and our 5 listeners. So no, I've already gotten a few texts from some patients asking where I am, and
where are you at?
Yeah, I actually got an angry phone call the other day when I could barely, I was just like nasally and everything else. Like, I know I still sound kind of like that right now, but it's nowhere near as bad as it was. Like, if you guys could have heard me the other day, Josh did. I didn't sound good at all.
No.
Yeah. No. But yeah, no, it's good to be back this week. Like I said, no, last week was it didn't happen, and that was on me. I do apologize, guys. And yeah, so that being said, I've been on my deathbed all week long. Josh, what about you?
I've been on your deathbed too.
Yeah, you have, definitely in my dreams. But I mean, yeah, not that kind of a show. You're not rich enough for that yet, buddy. But
working on it.
Yeah, working on it. Oh man, no. But how was your week? Like, what did you get into aside from the day job?
Oh, that's it. I don't know what's been put in the water around here, but it seems like everyone is just losing their ever-loving minds. More so than usual. It's actually getting a little concerning with how the people are just getting angrier and angrier. And I've noticed it everywhere. And it's not even about the usual, politics or sports or anything like that. It's definitely just on a regular day-to-day level. People are losing it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's like largely part of I think it's largely part because of the holidays, because this time of year people just seem to lose their damn minds over everything.
Maybe. Oh, but the worst part is, of course, I still have another full week to go through the job before my little break kicks in. And today I got off work and I'm like, so I can keep doing this or I can maybe not. And then the kids, one of my kids is like, well, if you don't, then you won't get money. I'm like, yeah, probably need that. So yeah,
see, close to being a dad, I guess you have kids that remind you that they need to eat.
You have to pay for us, father.
Yeah, like just go get a paper route like I had when I was 12 years old.
I mean, yeah.
Hey, say what you want, man. It was fun. There's this I got to there were people that I really didn't like on the paper route. I would aim for their garden decorations and stuff like that. They never got on the porch. And and that was in New Jersey, so we would just like make like snow ramps with the people's permission, so I could try to do trick shots from the bike, or if it was icy from my friend's dad's car, and just let him cross the road. And I could, it was down to a science where I would hit it so hard that it'd be like someone like just pounded on their door. Then they made me take these ramps down because I was too good at it, and it would wake them up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. But anyway, we are not here to talk about my paper route and going down memory lane with what it was like when I was a youngin' back in the 1990s. We are here to talk about the film industry and or movies. And I know we've had a few wires crossed between you and I this past week of what we were going to talk about.
Originally the idea was to talk about, what should you be paid for, what are you worth essentially? And we were going to talk about, all sorts of different levels, in the industry, or just as a hobbyist, where do you fall, and how much do should you get paid? Because money and whatnot is time, and time is money, and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
But we have an idea to have a guest on for that show, but we didn't get that to go for this week. So then the idea, Brandon, you came up with was to talk about race swapping in film and television, especially when it comes to, what's the name of the new show?
That show Anne Boleyn. It's not new. It's already been released. I think it actually went through its entire season in the UK. But it's just like, it's how things get introduced in other countries, and then it may take some time before we see them.
Right.
It's on its way to air in the US, and it's caused a lot of controversy because they have a black actress playing the part of Anne Boleyn, who was historically a member of the Caucasian equation, and like that's just it. So that's actually stirred up some controversy between that Hamilton, with that being like making a political statement, but still with the race swapping in Hamilton, huh?
Jimmy Olsen. People
Jimmy
losing
Olsen.
their minds about Jimmy Olsen.
The thing is, like, we can save all this for that episode because we're not talking about that, because we wanted somebody else on the show to talk about that too. But it's like people lose their minds over it. Personally, I don't give a shit. I don't care who does what. I don't care. I'm so easy. I can just push that button whenever I want. But being that we both wanted to have people on the show with us, we decided to do what we do best. And 3 minutes before we start the show, you pitched an idea, and I'm like, cool, let's roll with that. So here we are. So would you like to introduce what we're talking about tonight?
Well, that's why the language on some of the live feeds will say that we're talking about race swapping, but we're not talking about race swapping because, it'd be weird for two white boys to be like, let's talk about race.
Race is part of tonight's conversation. If you think, well, I guess culture really is more part of tonight's conversation, although there has been a bit of race swapping involved with tonight's topic.
A little bit, but tonight's topic, as usual, it seems, we're pulling this directly from the Facebook group that Brandon and I are both part of, for movie addicts, and the headline was one of those, okay, and it's basically an article from Bounding into Comics called "Wokeness or Superhero Fatigue: What Exactly is Killing the MCU?" Published December 9th, 2021, from Slade Hale, again on the Bounding into Comics.com website. Hey, cited all of our sources. So yeah, we're like all official, John.
Yep.
I'm posting the link to the article in the comments, by the way.
Okay. But yeah, so like there's been like people think that like things like the MCU, they think that it's on its tail end. They think that's pretty much like on its way out, or that like it's just like time for an end, or that it's like losing its momentum. And it's I beg to differ. It's just we moved on from one story to another.
So
That's what it is. We're setting up, huh?
let's answer that question directly first and foremost. Is the MCU dying?
I don't think it's dying. I think that what the MCU is doing is, mind you, the MCU now is old enough that when it started, if you're born when it started, you're now a teenager or on the verge of becoming a teenager. Well, no, 2008. Yeah, you're pretty much 13 years old now. That's how old the MCU is.
Mm-hmm.
But people need to realize that it's just like things change, stories change.
Yeah, absolutely true.
So it's just like, I mean, you really have to understand, like, with this happening, it's like you're going to have new stories that come in. But yeah, it's just like it's one of those deals where it's one of those deals where we finished up the Infinity War, we finished up the whole Infinity Stone saga, and that started from what do you call it, as early as Thor the Dark World, I believe, is when it really started kicking in momentum. Technically Thor, because you have like the Captain America. I mean, Captain America is the one I actually got it started. But from Captain America: The First Avenger, where we're introduced to the first Infinity Stone, all the way through to Endgame, it wrapped up the whole series. So now contracts have ended. We no longer have Captain America in the form of Steve Rogers. Iron Man is now dead. And Spider-Man is now moving on from that phase into the newest phase. And we're also being introduced to people like Shang-Chi and also the Eternals, which I've not seen that movie yet. I hear very mixed things about it. But also with all the TV shows that are coming out, you have Black Widow introduced, Yelena that's in Hawkeye. You have like Loki. You have WandaVision. So not only are things changing, but the characters are changing too. So it's giving way for all these new stories to come through. So I don't think it's going out. I think it's honestly it's just gearing up for like a second breath. Like it's a new generation, new era, a new like audience that they're going to be the ones that are like getting on board with this. So it's just, I think to say anything otherwise is just kind of stupid. Now it's going to have to probably end eventually. I mean, you can't have like the MCU for like 100 more years. So,
Oh, but you can,
God,
and you will.
like I personally like think that they could have ended the MCU with Endgame. They could have done it very easily, just right then and there, just shut it off. But there are lots of things that go through. I mean, if you look at things like what was it, the 10 Rings, right? We were introduced to that in Iron Man.
Yeah.
The Mandarin was mentioned in Iron Man 2. Plus, I think they're also like with the TV shows. I think they're setting up like a Dark Avengers kind of movie.
Seems that way.
So,
especially with all of the different villains, ish people that have kind of shown up. And we got the U.S. agent, and Ghost is still kicking around, right? So
yeah, I think so.
that's
Yeah.
one of the things that I recently watched Venom: Let There Be Carnage for the first time, and one of the most disappointing aspects was falling into I'm not going to spoil it, but falling into one of um the typical like early superhero tropes of what happens to the villain. And it seems like when you're in the MCU, minus that first phase because a lot of things happened in the first phase. You are guaranteed at least some sort of job security for a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't, just in general, I don't care for it when at the end. Okay, fine. I guess I have to do it.
You have
Spoilers
to
for
spoil it. I mean,
Venom Let There
it's
Be
been out, it's
Carnage.
been up like 2 months, man. You can spoil Venom Let There Be Carnage.
But I'm going to say spoilers 10 seconds.
Okay.
Starting now. I don't like it when the villain dies all the time.
Yeah.
It doesn't build up to anything.
Well, you
It
see,
doesn't build the world.
I think villains that are redeemable to a degree are ones that you can actually kind of keep alive, or if they're like some bigger threat that you cannot just simply kill them. Like Shang-Chi, we saw the Abomination for the first time since the Incredible Hulk, and like you kind of get the sense that him and Wong are buddies with each other. Like, but
That's
then
what
you
I
have
want to
other
see.
characters, huh?
That's what I want to see. I want to see, it's Marvel is going out of their way to basically turn this into their comic book universe.
Yeah,
No, not even turn it into. It is, basically an extension of what they do as storytellers. The
yeah,
comics, they share a same universe, and they had the ultimate universe for a long time, and now the MCU is just basically another branch of their storytelling ventures, and
yeah.
that is what excites me the most because they're treating it just like they would the comics. People are popping up here and there. It's less about are we going to be able to get them back and more we're going to pay them this much money anyway, so let's just record this scene to throw in something completely different.
Well, yeah. I mean, like not to mention, like you have like it's the House of Mouse, man. Like Mickey's pockets are pretty damn deep. So I mean, it's like, hey, we killed off Robert Downey Jr., but you know what? We could use him as an artificial intelligence and put him in a hologram in the Iron Man suit. Hey, Rob, how much did that cost you? $100 million. Done. One movie, 5 minutes. You're in. Then we're going to blow you up so you don't have to come back anymore. All right, 120 million. Oh, okay.
And not to mention with the multiverse thing going on, anybody could come back as anybody, right?
Oh yeah.
We could
I
have
mean,
new Tony Stark, and it would make perfect sense.
but it's like that. That's the other thing. That's the only good part, from what I understand, of Venom. Let There Be Carnage is the end credit scene.
What are you doing in my room?
Yeah, you know what? Listen, I'm not as kind as you. It's been 2 months. The first Venom was mediocre at best. The second one is, from what I hear, not that great. So hey, spoiler alert for a really messed up and stupid movie.
Fine.
Yeah. What do you call it? Doctor Strange's little spell that Peter Parker messes up, sucks Venom into the MCU, where he sees of all things, he sees the news report from what's his face, J. Jonah Jameson, about Spider-Man being a villain, and Venom is only allowed to eat bad guys. So I guess that's something that's going to happen in the MCU at some point. But what do you call it? Like it's just what do you call it? It's like that's something that I guess is going to happen at some point, where we're going to have Venom and Spider-Man facing off, with Venom thinking that Spider-Man is a bad guy.
Well, hold on. Let me ask you a question real quick.
Go ahead.
If it was Doctor Strange's spell that brought him in, the one that erases everybody's memory of Peter Parker being Spider-Man, how would Venom see that Peter Parker's Spider-Man?
Well, because at the end of the movie, when you have Venom getting sucked into the MCU's universe, he sees Peter Parker without his mask on the TV in the Spider-Man attire, then talking about how he killed someone, and with Peter Parker is Spider-Man on the banner at the bottom of the screen, slowly going across. So he knows
I'm
who
just
Peter.
saying if it was Doctor Strange's spell that brought him there, none of that would have been on the TV. So it must have been something other than Doctor Strange that brought him through.
What do you mean?
Well, the spell itself was to make everybody forget that Peter Parker's Spider-Man, right?
Yeah, but that spell actually, apparently, according to the trailers, the spell broke the multiverse. Because the spell, according to the trailers, the spell sucked Green Goblin, it sucked Doctor Octopus, Electro, Sandman, all
Perhaps
from
two more
different,
Spider-Man.
possibly 2 more Spider-Man. But Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are going to be in this damn movie. It is like the MCU's worst kept, but most desperately attempted kept secrets. Like they've had pictures of their uniforms all hanging up together. There are pictures of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield on a set that is the exact set with a blue screen behind it for the Statue of Liberty thing. And they're going. I would be willing to bet every single dollar that I have, just on the fact that they'll be in. I'm not going to say that they're mainstays in the whole movie, but I think they'll be in it for at least like the final battle. But my point is that we got so far. We did what we usually do. We got derailed, but that further goes into the MCU is not dead. You have also, like, they're introducing the Fantastic Four. They're going to be introducing other aspects. Again, Wanda.
X-Men.
They're like, I mean, I believe that they've actually talked to Hugh Jackman about coming back as Wolverine.
In an interview many years ago, when he was set to retire, they said, "Is there anything that'll get you back?" And he's like, "Yeah, if I can fight the Hulk in the MCU." Now that can happen. Now, will it happen? I don't know.
Yeah, that is a possibility now. No, I mean that is a possibility. There is a very good possibility that he could fight the Hulk eventually. I would love to see Wolverine fight the Hulk, but now that Disney owns the rights to the X-Men and anything, because I mean, think about it. You have Charlie Cox is reprising his role as Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil. You have so many things going on right now that no, it's not dead. But you know what cracks me up even more than just people saying that the MCU is dead? It's people saying that the MCU is pandering by making things like Shang-Chi or Black Widow or the Eternals, because it's like the Eternals is very diverse. It's like it's pandering. Like, well, it's not pandering. No, I'm sorry. Even Black Panther was pandering. I've heard it so many times from so many places. Not like a few times on Movie Addiction, not very often, but I've seen it tons of times on Facebook, on other forms of social media. But you know what's not pandering? And this is what makes me laugh. The MCU stories can take place anywhere in the United States. That's fine. They can take place across the galaxy, distant worlds. That's cool too.
Guardians of the Galaxy pandered to green people.
But once you go over to Africa, some of the Asian countries, wherever, when you go to the Middle East, when you have stories that don't include, the more acceptable heroes that started the MCU, it's pandering. And now Black Widow, I didn't think Black Widow was that great. I sat through it. It did get better. It did get more entertaining. I hate what they did with Taskmaster. That still pisses me off so much. Which is another thing. They killed Taskmaster. They didn't kill the person that was being controlled that turned into Taskmaster. They killed Taskmaster. Removed that whole programming from the character. Taskmaster could have been so much more of a badass character for throughout this whatever this new era of the MCU. but yeah, I mean, it's just like there's so much more that could have been done. Oh yeah, that's right. The other thing that's pandering is it pissed people off that they made Sam Wilson the new Captain America instead of Bucky. If you tell them, it's like, well, that's what happened in the comic books. They'll go, yeah, well, Bucky was Captain America too. Like, just say it's a white dude. Like, uh,
Yeah, yeah. It's like everybody knows. Just go ahead, say it. Just say it.
that's where like if it weren't on social media, if it was like at a friend's get together, there would just be the point where everyone would be sitting around this person staring at him, just come on, dude, just say it, just say it. You say it, we can respect you for being honest. Just say it, man. Just say it. It should have been a white guy. Just say it. Uh, but yeah.
I'm sorry. It's not very often that the neighbor's dog is barking so late at night. I don't know if you can hear that or not. It's not exactly pleasant to hear someone's loud ass dog on the back of a microphone, but he won't listen. So, yeah. By the way, I will also say that when it comes to the extended universe, the Disney Plus shows, I am a very big fan of everything that's come out so far. WandaVision absolutely blew me away because I am a huge fan of classic sitcoms. That's kind of my bread and butter, what I was raised on. I watched I Love Lucy and Green Acres and Get Smart. I watched all of that stuff from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and then 80s and 90s. I watched the live in front of a studio audience with the Facts of Life and Different Strokes. That was interesting to see Kevin Hart play Arnold from Different Strokes. And what was more interesting, the fact that yeah, was definitely short enough to do it. But I digress. WandaVision, loved it. Loki, what if? What if telling some very interesting and a little bold in some cases stories about characters that you know from the MCU with a twist. Yeah, you all know what if is about. And Hawkeye. Hawkeye's been getting a lot of flack recently. How can you make a show about the most boring Avenger? Well, he's finally getting his time in the spotlight. He's on a mission with, we'll say, a protege, and it really finally lets us into what makes Clint Barton tick as a character, more so than the handful of minutes he gets in the occasional Avengers movie. Even ScarJo got a chance to flex a little bit as Black Widow in more than Avengers movie. Coming about in Iron Man 2, and we got to see more of her, and I am just glad Hawkeye is finally getting that chance to flex some character. I don't know who that would exactly pander to. And Marvel's pandering to fathers now. How dare they? That's I don't know. Digressing once again. Now, when it comes to this particular reason for people disliking anything from the MCU, Captain Marvel gets brought up a lot, but I never really hear anybody try to argue the quality of the movie. Yeah, people will say that it was either bland, boring, piss poor, or just mediocre at best. And that's fine. People are allowed to have their opinions. It's one of the tenets of this show. Saying you're allowed to like what you like. It's cool. But when your argument for not liking a movie is, well, the star said mean stuff about the category of person I am, you're not dissing a movie. You're dissing a star. And
Yeah.
there's a whole nother topic about separating the artist from the art. But in this particular instance, don't say that something is bad because somebody said something not in the movie. And don't get upset because Marvel, the company that wants to make as much money as possible, yet surprise folks, Marvel Films, Marvel Studios is in it to make money.
Yeah.
Gasp.
That's been something that's cracked me the hell up. Like people is like, well, how can Marvel do that? Like, well, yeah, how dare they get more of an audience?
They're only doing it to make money. Uh-huh. Isn't that terrible? No, that's business. That's
Right.
literally their purpose. And if they think they can get money by making a female-led superhero movie and then use that character in multiple movies afterwards, then yeah, they're going to do it. And they're going to do it again and again if it's successful. If it's not successful, they will drop it and maybe keep the character around for, one-off spots. But in the meantime, we have characters like Black Panther and Captain Marvel and Shang-Chi and let's see, anybody else that I'm missing that fits some sort of category that's not straight white male?
Rhodey.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think. See, I honestly think War Machine needs his own movie.
He's gonna have his own TV show.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, good. But it's like, I mean, that's like saying, like, I mean, it's like when you have like such a huge catalog of characters, you cannot say something is dying just because you don't like it. Just say, hey, I don't like it, so I'm not going to watch it anymore. In my imagination, in my mind, it's gone as far as it really needs to go, so I'm not going to acknowledge anything else. That is one thing. But to say that, okay, well, I don't like where it's going, so it's dying. Like, well, no, it's really not. It'll live on with or without you buying a ticket to go see it.
One of the things that really irritates me about this article from Slate Hail, the one that I posted in the comments, is that it is looking almost exclusively at the Eternals and where similar movies kind of stacked as far as box office goes.
Yeah,
And to me, that's kind of it's being a little bit disingenuous
I agree.
in my opinion, because you're looking at, well, one, a movie that definitely does not have the mainstream appeal of one of the cornerstone heroes.
Yeah,
It's a group of people. I've been reading comic books for a very long time, and even I'm not up on the Eternals. So when they decided to do the Eternals, I was like, I'm gonna watch it. Of course, I haven't yet, but I said I'm gonna watch it because it's a Marvel movie, and a lot of people said they're gonna watch something because it's a Marvel movie, but because it's not one of those cornerstone characters, and because and oh god, I hate this argument, but it's still true. There are people that are still wary of going to the theater, and maybe they're a lot like me, and it's not so much, hey, I'm going to go to the theater. No, scratch that. It's not that I'm afraid to go to the theater. I just want to know that if I go to the theater, it's going to be worth my time.
yeah,
I'm not saying Eternals won't be worth my time. I'm just saying, just in general, I'm only going for major
yeah. It's like in these
blockbusters. I went to
days,
see James Bond.
Yeah, and these days, I mean, let's be honest, you can't go off of reviews with damn near anything because everything is so biased. Now, opinions are opinions; they always have been, always will be. But these days, um, the rate at which people's opinions have, I guess, become more toxic. I mean, because you have you have them everywhere. You have fans of franchises everywhere. And in these groups of fans, you have these super, super, like the pure fans. Like they want everything to be exactly as it is or was always in the comic books. And until those changes in the comic books are made, they don't want to see them on the screen. So it's like one of those deals where when you get a review, like the Eternals, I don't know anything about the Eternals, but I have seen people talk at great lengths about the Eternals as if they were, you know, one of the biggest groups in the comic books, and they might be. I don't know, but people will talk about these movies, and they will just go for blood. So it's like it's kind of hard to pick apart what is and is not really. I don't know, up to par. I guess best way to put it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think if it has the Marvel logo on it, Marvel Studios logo, I should be a little more clear on that. That there's a chance that you're going to have a pretty good time watching it.
Yeah.
There are, the occasional movies that may just not be up your alley. If you didn't like Captain Marvel, I had some issues with it, especially with the sound mixing in certain scenes. But Black Widow, I mean, I enjoyed it. The banter, between family members was very fun. I thought the big bad and the actual story was lackluster, but I didn't nearly care about that as much as I cared about watching the interaction between all of these quote unquote family members. It was,
Yeah.
I thought, a clever little insertion into the MCU, as far as finally giving her some sort of backstory, something to sink our teeth into it for her, just on a personal level. Unfortunately, I think it's almost a decade too late. If we got this movie, 10 years ago, barring the end credit scene.
Are you talking about Captain Marvel, right?
No, Black Widow.
Oh, Black Widow. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry, broke in and out there for a second.
But yeah, Black Widow probably should have come a lot sooner. So
Oh,
again, we've said it before. Yeah, the movie after she dies, we're like, let's find out more about her. It's like, why? We already know what happens.
yeah. No, see, Black Widow. The way I would write that is I would have it to where when you introduce Black Widow back in what do you call it, Iron Man 2, that would have been the time to introduce us to like her childhood backstory, introduce us to the Red Room and everything else. But honestly, what Black Widow should have been to me if they were going to go back, they should have given her an actual friggin' origin movie.
Yeah,
They
right
should have
after Iron Man 2.
they could have. Okay, you know what? One more spoiler alert: Hawkeye. And have you seen the newest episode that came out the other day?
Yes.
Okay, so you should probably see that spoiler alert banner at the bottom here because I'm going to talk about something that came up in the TV show that I thought was brilliant.
All right,
There's a
the
scene.
banner's up.
Okay, there's a scene where his protege, buddy, partner, whatever the girl is in
Kate Bishop.
the show, where she asks him what the best shot was that he ever made, and he says there was one he never took, and she doesn't get it, and she pressures him to talk about it,
You
and
can't
so he
just bring it
tells
up and
her
not
about
talk about
his
it.
history with
Said you can't just bring it up and not talk about it. That's what she said.
Oh yeah, yeah. But yeah. So it's like he talks about like how he pulled Natalie, Natalia Romanoff, away from the Black Widow program, and how he sensed that she just wanted out.
Mm-hmm.
He had a clear shot. He could have easily killed her, but he didn't. And it's been brought up by Black Widow as well that he saved her from the Red Room in the Black Widow program. It's been brought up. It's been brought up a couple times in other conversations. You know how close they were, and this show is pretty much like it's still him dealing with the grief of her loss. How awesome would it have been to see that in the MCU in some form? Like we could have been introduced to Black Widow as an agent for Shield, and we could have gotten this as a backstory, somewhere down the line. That would have been great. I would have loved it. But what we got was really it wasn't. I don't know. It didn't seem necessary to me.
Imagine the world we could have had if Black Widow was introduced as one of the villains in one of the movies prior to Avengers.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't Black Widow at first a villain in the comic books?
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, that would have been epic. Like, yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's the only place where I think that the MCU really, really, really dropped the ball big time. Because it just, the fans will never get to see it. We only really hear the exposition about it and like the history through conversations. So we get to we get to think about it in our minds, but we never really get to actually watch it go down. And we could have been introduced to Elena, her, I guess, baby sister figure. We could have been introduced to her earlier on, which could have really set her up to be, more. We could have had more of a relationship if we saw more of her throughout the MCU, and for her to not know exactly how Black Widow died. So, which is another plot hole to me. I don't understand why they wouldn't just say like how Black Widow died. Like, I mean, like, don't you think that they would honor how she died or something like that? Like,
well, it hasn't been brought up.
But I'm just saying, like, just like everyone knows that they saved the world.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, don't you think that it would have been something that would be documented? Like, hey,
that was like a self-sacrifice.
Yeah. Like, oh, how did Black Widow die? It's like, well, they needed the Soul Stone. She and Clint got into a altercation over who was going to sacrifice themselves. He tried to do it because he didn't know if it was all going to work, and his family was already gone. They hadn't been brought back yet. And she was going to do it because she had really nothing to lose, although she had a family too.
You had a family the whole time?
And that's where Black Widow becomes problematic as well to me. Like, you have a sister that you pretty much abandoned, who you want to make up everything to. Like, you have your adopted, or staged rather, mother and father figures back in your life again. You would think that maybe she had something to live for again, because that's pretty much how, if you're going to make the Black Widow movie, you should have made that between, like, if it had to be brought up, it should have been brought up between Infinity War and Endgame.
That'd be a good place for it.
So,
but none of this equates to the MCU dying.
No, there's tons of stories.
I was seeing articles, right, about tickets for the new Spider-Man movie being sold online for like $10,000.
No, absolutely.
That is the dumbest thing that I heard of over the last couple weeks, because I can't say ever.
No,
But
more than
it's
10,000. Like
crazy.
I think some have actually sold for 25,000,
So y'all know it's going to be available to pirate like immediately, right?
and it really makes me wonder. Hey, should I have gotten on board with this?
No, I wouldn't recommend pirating movies. That's not.
No, not pirating, scalping tickets.
I'm just saying, people paying thousands of dollars to go see a movie, and with a couple of quick internet searches, if they're that adamant about, I have to see it the second it's released. I can't even with some of these people. But yeah, it's already breaking like box office records, and ticket sales are through the roof. Is that the sign of a dying franchise?
Yeah, not to me. What cracks me up though? Could you imagine being one of the idiots that bought a ticket for like $20,000, and you're telling everyone like, "Oh yeah, I just saw it last night with my $25,000 ticket." Like, yeah, cool. I went to go see it last night too. I just ended up ordering a ticket on Fandango. Oh, yeah, it actually happened when Endgame came out. People were scalping tickets for like a couple $1,000 a piece. Me and Danielle went to go see it the day before it opened. Just walked right to the theater and bought those tickets. It was awesome. But no, it's like see the box office. It's not like just the box office alone for Endgame should tell you that people are not ready to say goodbye to the MCU. You have another Thor movie, which I think the God of Thunder title, or Mjolnir, or like I guess Stormbreaker, whatever,
Love
whichever
and
one.
Thunder.
It's going to be passed on to Jane Foster, like what happened in the comic books. And there's plenty of stuff. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is coming out. We're going to be introduced to Adam Warlock. There's tons of things that are coming out. There's no way that the MCU is ending anytime soon. I mean, Christ, Loki, we got introduced to Kang the Conqueror.
We're getting to that point in the cycle where we're about to be introduced to what the overall the overlaying story arc is going to be for what's laying the groundwork for whatever the next big team up movie is, right?
Yeah.
And through the TV shows, we're kind of getting bits and pieces, like you said with Loki. We met Kang, and we know something's going to happen there. And I think we've moved past the world where film and television are just considered unrelated, because we have movie actors showing up in the TV shows, TV show actors going to be showing up in the movies, and it is all one.
Yeah.
There is no difference between the storytelling in the Disney Plus shows and the MCU movies. It's all cohesive. It's all telling a unique part of the story. One of my favorite aspects of Hawkeye so far has been his relationship with the LARPers.
Oh yeah, it's been hysterical. But one thing I do like about the Hawkeye though is like in this newest episode they're talking about how because of his relationship with the with the LARPers, they had to go get his they had to go get his arrows, which answers the question with Hawkeye, like, hey, like, I mean, what happens when you run out of shit? Well, you gotta go find it. So,
And of course, that means we're going to be getting some cool costumes.
yeah.
But just because we said goodbye to Iron Man, just because we said, goodbye to Captain America, doesn't mean the MCU is going anywhere. And I'll go ahead and throw Black Widow in there, because I don't want to downplay the contributions of that character in the MCU, but the audience is on this ride,
Yeah.
and as long as they keep teasing enough, for the next movie, they're going to keep going along. I didn't see really anything that told me from Shang-Chi, hey, the next chapter is the Eternals, and that's something you have to check out immediately. I don't know how it connects to Shang-Chi because I haven't seen the Eternals.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, if there was any ball dropped, it would be the fact they didn't draw a clear line from one movie to the next. Whether it's through, maybe it's a magic theme that they're trying to get across. I don't know. I don't know how any of it works anymore. But what we do know is that when Spider-Man comes out, it is it's going to definitely be a peek at the next Doctor Strange movie, the Multiverse of Madness.
Oh yeah.
And we already know, because of WandaVision, Scarlet Witch is going to be involved in some way, and so is Spider-Man. So it's almost like Multiverse of Madness. Oh, and Loki, of course, he's going to be involved with that. Multiverse of Madness is going to almost be a sequel to No Way Home.
Yeah.
So
And
you're drawing direct lines here.
yeah, and then like on top of that, like if you and you know what, I'm not even going to say spoiler alert because guys, these shows have been out for months now. WandaVision was the first one, which I believe premiered was it like January or February or somewhere that came out
last year, right?
Um,
Last year.
No, it came out this year. It just came out like early this year. But okay, either way. So with WandaVision, we're left with Wanda becoming the Scarlet Witch, like full-blooded Scarlet Witch mode, headpiece and everything. But not only that, we also had Vision pretty much reclaiming his identity after being destroyed by Thanos and being put back together by the government.
Albino Vision.
So he gets brought back. So now we have White Vision, which is straight out of the comic books. So who knows how long we have Vision, but he is back now. So you have all these characters. Wanda, I don't know if she's going to be like the big bad of the because someone like I guess speculated that she's going to be the new villain in the MCU, which I don't know if she will or not, but I'm sure she's going to have some things that she's going to screw up.
What if?
But either way, it's like so.
I want to put on my fan cap here and do some wild speculating. What if this all leads to her bringing in the mutants because she finds out that in one of the universes, through all of Doctor Strange's shenanigans, that Pietro is alive?
That'd be interesting. But I mean, either way, I personally don't speculate because it always almost inevitably leads to some level of disappointments. But the thing is still you have Wanda and Doctor Strange, who have never shared any scenes together outside of I think like the funeral for Tony Stark. They never shared any scenes together. So having these two with their powers, having Wanda being labeled as being even more powerful than Doctor Strange in the show, you have all these things that could actually lead to more, I guess, messed up like storylines. But like we already know that. I already know that I think Mordo is the villain in Doctor Strange 2. If you guys don't remember who he was the wizard that fell out of interest of practicing with the I guess like staying in with the Sanctum Sanctorum because of the Ancient One's use of the dark magic. And pretty much he makes it his own personal journey to remove magic from all who don't deserve it everywhere. So,
which would put Wanda firmly in his crosshairs.
yeah. Oh, come on, Wanda would kick his ass anyway. But as much as I would love to stay on this, I am out in front of work right now, so I have to get inside here. But yeah, do you want to finish up? Wrap it up for me, buddy.
Yeah, no problem. I'll do the proper plugs and invite people back next week.
All right, brother. Listen, everyone, you guys have a great week. Yeah, I'll let him do the pep talk. I'm still not feeling that great. So, yeah, it's been great. Josh, good to be back on the show again. Looking forward to next week. And yeah, guys, have a safe week and have a good night. Bye.
All right, that was Brandon, everybody. Give him a big round of applause for showing up to work on time. You gotta love that. But like you said, that is the show for tonight. And I hope everybody had fun listening to it just as much as we had fun talking about it. Things always get a little passionate when it comes to the MCU because we're all big fanboys. Well, before we sign off, I'm going to let you know that if you want to find what's his face, I don't remember his name now. You can find him at bjacksman82 on Instagram. And he never remembers his Twitter handle, so that's okay. But bjacksman82 on Insta. And if you want to make sure that you're here live in the chat every week, go to facebook.com/the WADcast, not WADcast, but the WADcast. Make sure you properly put in the WADcast. That way, you know you're in the right spot, and you'll be able to watch us live here each and every week. And most of the time, the information filled in underneath the video here is actually correct. If you want to know where to find me, why don't you go to semicorestudios.com. That way, you can click all of the links to any of your social media platforms. I should probably put my Insta on there, but I think there's only one picture. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's only one picture. And I have a TikTok account, but Semicore Studios, follow it if you want. I haven't posted anything. I don't know how that works. I'm definitely showing my age. I know there's older people that you know what? I'm not going to talk about this right now. But semicorestudios.com, there is a link to the Patreon. If you want to leave a buck because you like what you hear, why not? Feel free, or don't. We're still going to come at you each and every week, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, right here, facebook.com/the WADcast, and available wherever fine podcasts are sold. And if you are one of the people that are downloading the podcast, make sure that you hit that there subscribe button. If you're watching on YouTube, do the same. Leave some comments. Tell us what you think about the show. Now, this is the time of the show where I give everybody a final thought. But it appears the neighbor's hound is deciding to give you a final thought instead. Timing, right? It's the key to comedy. He agrees. So, with that being said, the final thought. It's the same as it is every week. If you have a dream, if there's something you want to do, if there's something you want to write, if there's something you want to act in, if there's something you want to create, you're the only one standing in your way. Stop building up barriers between you and your dreams. Overcome them. Get over them. Stop making excuses to not be what you want to be. It's not an easy path. The path of the creator is not easy if that's what you're trying to do. If that's what you're trying to be. But when it comes to actually creating, nothing is stopping you. You have a phone, make a movie. You have a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil, write a story. Composition books like a buck. Fill it with words. Tell your story. Shoot your movie. Do the thing that you're putting off until tomorrow today. Then and only then will you be able to conquer the fear of never having done anything. Well, with that being said, the guy that left earlier was Brandon. The guy that's still here now is Josh. Together, of course, we are the WADcast. Kente, hope to see you back next week. And we're out of here.